Thank you. Joining us live via Skype right now from Augusta is threat expert Kevin Parker with EdgePoint Global. Thank you for joining us this morning, Kevin.
Thank you, Sheila.
So when we see this church shooting and the gunman fired from outside and then he fired inside, is there anything that people can do in a situation like this to protect themselves?
Well, really, you got to start with the Department of Homeland Security suggestion to run, hide, fight. Run if at all possible. Hide if you can't run. And if the threat's immediate, then you have to turn to engage that threat. We can no longer hide and hope that a threat is just going to stop engaging targets once they begin.
With all the recent shootings that have taken place, especially one that just happened in Vegas, and now when we go places, I mean, we kind of let our guard down, especially at a church. Do we need to really start putting plans in places everywhere we go?
I think, you could start as simple as identifying what exits are available to you. So regardless of what location you're in, you have a plan in place. Go through what we call mental scripting, kind of determine what you would do if something were to happen. And that way you've already thought through the process. You've identified some exits that you can get out of. Identified some locations that you could hide in if that's necessary.
Kevin, what would be your advice for churches now? We have seen the number of church shootings go up over the last few years. You look at a church like this in Texas that is just so small, really nowhere to hide, especially when the gunman shooting from the outside and sort of catching people by surprise. But what would be your advice for churches moving forward? Should they get bulletproof windows? Should they get security at the door? Should they scan everybody coming in?
Well, that's going to be dependent on each church. The best place to start is just going to be to have a conversation, right? The congregation needs to get together and talk about what their plan is going to be as a church. That way everybody's on the same page. The next step would be to do an assessment. We call it a threat assessment of the location, of the possibility of attack, and look at the vulnerabilities that your church specifically has. Budgets and everything are going to come into play when you start talking about hardening the structure. But that's absolutely something that, if it's within means, if it's within reason, I would highly suggest it.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Some good advice. Every church will take this under consideration. I know your church, it will be up for debate soon, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's a sign on the door that says no firearms are permitted, but there's no pat downs or anything like that, so anybody can walk in.
Yeah.
We do have a security team.
You can't lock people from the inside out either. You can't do that because
one of the few places you still feel, or at least up until now, you felt safe. You thought you can go in and just let your guard down and just enjoy your service and then leave, but now that's changing.
Yeah. All right.